Ilior had never felt this nervous before. Standing at the edge of the glowing forest of Aurora IX, he stared at the alien city shimmering beneath the bioluminescent trees. He had trained for years, read countless manuals, and practiced simulations on Earth, but nothing could prepare him for the moment he would meet Zyra. She was a representative of her people, one of the first aliens humans were ever going to interact with directly, and she was beautiful in a way that made him forget to breathe. Her armor glinted like liquid silver, reflecting the soft lights around them. Ilior had studied the schematics, but seeing it in real life made him realize he understood very little about what he was about to touch. The humans' mission on Aurora IX had been simple in concept: observe, learn, and build trust. In reality, the situation was delicate. Zyra's people were cautious and proud, their culture built around symbols of honor, one of the most sacred being the armor that every official wore. It wasn't just protection, it was a statement of trust, responsibility, and their history. And now Ilior, a young human engineer with shaking hands, was tasked to inspect it. He adjusted the small calibration tool in his hand, the metal cool and reassuring, and tried to steady his breathing. "Just a routine check," he muttered to himself. "Nothing can go wrong." Zyra walked closer, her movements fluid, almost like she was gliding over the mossy ground. The silver of her armor shimmered with every step, and her eyes, large and luminous, studied him with what seemed like both curiosity and quiet judgment. Ilior felt small under her gaze, but he forced himself to step forward. "Greetings," he said, his voice slightly trembling. "I'm Ilior. I will inspect the armor for energy calibration and safety alignment." Zyra inclined her head. She spoke in a melodic tone, her language alien, but the translator embedded in Ilior's suit converted it seamlessly. "I understand. Proceed carefully. Our armor carries more than protection." Ilior nodded, swallowing hard. "I understand." He crouched slightly and brought the tool close to the surface of the armor. The metal was smooth, almost alive. Sensors within the suit pulsed faintly, adjusting to his presence. He ran the tool along the surface carefully, checking energy channels and stabilizers. Everything seemed fine, and a small relief washed over him. Then it happened. A tiny slip of his hand. The tool fell. Ilior froze, watching in horror as it bounced off the armor and left a visible crack along the breastplate. The metal seemed to ripple, as though it had a heartbeat of its own, and then went still. Zyra froze. The soft glow of the forest dimmed in Ilior's mind as though time itself had slowed. Her eyes widened, and the light in them intensified. "Do you know what this means?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp, carrying a weight that made Ilior's chest tighten. He shook his head, panic rising. I didn't mean to. It was an accident." Zyra remained still, her hands lightly touching the cracked armor. Ilior noticed how even the slightest movement seemed to stress the metal further. The crack was glowing faintly now, reacting to her touch. He realized then that the armor was not just a suit. It was alive in a way, responsive to emotion, intent, and perhaps even to mistakes. "This is serious," Ilior said, voice barely above a whisper. "I can fix it. I can repair it. Please don't." Zyra interrupted him with a gesture, raising her hands slightly. "You do not understand the gravity of this. This armor is not only protection. It carries our history, our honor. Breaking it is more than just a mistake. It is a statement. You have shown disregard for our ways. Our council will notice. They may reconsider everything about your presence here." Ilior's stomach dropped. He had read about alien etiquette, about their pride and the importance of symbols, but he had never imagined that one small accident could threaten years of preparation, diplomacy, and trust. He stepped closer, careful not to touch the armor. "I didn't mean any disrespect. I want to understand. Please tell me what I need to do." Zyra looked at him for a long moment. Her expression was unreadable. Then, slowly, she spoke. "If you truly understand the consequences, your actions now will determine the future between our people and yours. Are you willing to learn and act?" Ilior nodded quickly, almost desperately. "Yes, anything. I will do anything to make this right." Her eyes softened just a fraction. "Then follow me." Ilior's heart raced as he followed Zyra through the luminous forest toward a structure unlike anything he had ever seen. The building was tall, organic, and shaped like a spiraling crystal. Light flowed along its surface, casting prismatic patterns on the ground. It was alive in a way, as though the building itself were aware of their presence. Inside, the walls glowed faintly with alien symbols, some he recognized from his training manuals, others completely foreign. The air hummed with energy, and Elior could feel a subtle vibration under his feet. Zyra led him to a chamber where the other members of her people were gathered. They were clad in similar armor, their faces serious, eyes examining him closely. "This human," Zyra said, her voice calm but authoritative, "has caused damage to something sacred. He claims it was an accident, but he must prove his understanding before we continue our cooperation." Elior swallowed hard. The weight of the moment pressed down on him. These were not just aliens. They were a civilization he barely understood, and the slightest misstep could undo everything humanity had worked for. He stepped forward, hands raised slightly in a gesture of respect. I want to learn. I want to understand why this armor matters so much. Please guide me." The council observed him silently. One of them, older and taller, spoke. The voice was deep, resonant. "Understanding is only the first step. You must show respect, patience, and ingenuity. Only then can trust be rebuilt." Elior nodded, determination settling in his chest. He realized that fixing the armor physically would be one challenge, but earning the trust of a civilization unlike his own would be far greater. Over the next hours, Zyra guided him through the basics. He observed the armor's material, its energy channels, and the subtle ways it responded to thought and emotion. He practiced small adjustments under her supervision, learning that every movement, every touch carried meaning. One wrong gesture could create instability, not just in the metal, but in the perception of intent. Elior's hands trembled, but his mind sharpened. He began to notice patterns, how the suit seemed to hum in harmony with calm movements, how it stiffened with hesitation or aggression. He realized that the armor was more than a tool, it was a bridge between body, mind, and emotion. "This is incredible," Elior whispered. "It's almost alive," Zyra smiled faintly. "It is alive in ways most humans cannot yet understand, and now you are responsible for respecting that life." By the time the first glow of the planet's twin moons touched the chamber, Elior felt exhausted but enlightened. He had learned more in a few hours than he had in years of study. Yet, the crack in the armor still glimmered faintly, a constant reminder that one mistake could have far-reaching consequences. As they walked back toward the forest, Zyra spoke quietly, almost to herself, but loud enough for Elior to hear. "Humans, they may surprise us yet." Elior's heart lifted slightly at her words. Perhaps, just perhaps, this accident could become an opportunity rather than a disaster. But he knew the real test was still ahead, not just repairing the armor, but showing through action that humans could be trusted, clever, and honorable. That night, Elior lay in the human settlement near the alien city, staring at the glowing canopy above. He thought about Zyra's words, the look in her eyes, and the subtle weight of responsibility that now rested on his shoulders. He realized that on Aurora IX, humans were being judged not just for what they could build or fix, but for who they were at their core. As sleep approached, he made a silent vow: he would not fail. He would not just repair the armor. He would earn the respect of Zyra and her people, and prove that humanity, in its creativity, courage, and integrity, was more than worthy of its place among the stars. And somewhere deep in the glowing forest, Zyra watched the settlement lights, thinking of the human who had broken her armor and might, in time, change her view of the entire species. Elior did not know that his next mistakes and successes would echo far beyond Aurora IX, shaping the future of interstellar relations in ways he could not yet imagine. But he was ready to face them, one careful step at a time, guided by curiosity, honesty, and the growing understanding that sometimes mistakes are the beginning of something far greater than perfection ever could be. The next morning, the forest of Aurora IX glowed softly under twin suns that were just beginning to rise. Elior woke with a sense of urgency pressing on him. He remembered the crack in Zyra's armor, the weight of her eyes, and the quiet judgment of the council. The accident had left a mark, not only on the armor but also on the fragile trust between humans and her people. He knew that his first actions after that mistake would define everything that came next. Breakfast in the human settlement was quiet. Elior sat alone at the edge of the dining hall, staring at the holographic screens displaying alien schematics. The images were beautiful, intricate, and unlike anything he had seen before. Every pattern, every glowing line seemed purposeful. Elior studied them carefully, trying to imagine how the armor could be repaired not only physically but also emotionally. In the alien culture, the armor was a symbol. Fixing it would be only part of the challenge. He needed to show that humans could act with integrity. Zyra appeared at the entrance of the hall. Her presence made Elior sit up straighter, and he could feel the energy in her armor even from a distance. She walked with the calm, controlled grace of someone who knew her worth. Elior swallowed hard and approached her. "Good morning," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. I've been reviewing the schematics. I think I can understand the flow of energy in your armor now. I want to start the repairs." Zyra looked at him thoughtfully. Her eyes glimmered with the soft light of the rising suns. "Repairs alone are not enough," she said. "You must demonstrate that your understanding is more than technical. You must show comprehension of intention and respect. Only then will our council consider your efforts meaningful." Elior nodded, determination hardening in his chest. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes." She gave a small nod and motioned for him to follow. They walked together through the forest, moving toward the practice grounds of her people. Elior noticed the bioluminescent flora reacting to their passage, as if the forest itself recognized Zyra and her authority. He tried not to stare, though he couldn't help but feel awed by the beauty of it all. At the clearing, Zyra gestured toward several sets of alien armor, all shining in the soft light. "Observe," she said. "Each suit responds differently to its wearer. It is not enough to repair a suit mechanically. You must connect to it, sense its flow, and act in harmony. Watch carefully." Elior crouched and observed as Zyra moved among the armor. With each step, the metal adjusted, pulsing in rhythm with her energy. She paused, and the armor glowed brighter around her chest and shoulders. Her movements were deliberate, precise, and yet full of life. Elior realized that the armor was almost like a reflection of the wearer's character. Confidence, patience, and clarity made it respond smoothly, while hesitation or doubt caused subtle cracks to appear, just like the one he had caused. He took a deep breath. If he was going to fix what he had broken, he would need to approach it differently than before. No rushed motions, no second guesses. Every action had to be intentional. Zyra stepped closer, her glowing eyes studying him. "You may begin," she said. Elior knelt beside the cracked armor. He studied the fracture, noting the pulsing glow. It was delicate, sensitive. A miscalculation could make it worse. He activated his tools, adjusting the energy stabilizers and scanning the metal for inconsistencies. Slowly, carefully, he aligned the fracture, holding his breath as the armor responded. It shimmered slightly, then pulsed steadily. Zyra watched silently, her expression unreadable. Elior could feel her judgment pressing on him, but he forced himself to focus. He adjusted the energy flow, recalibrated the protective layers, and then did something he hadn't dared before. He placed his hands gently on the armor. He concentrated, letting his intentions be clear. He meant no harm, only repair. The crack began to close, the glowing lines merging into a seamless pattern. Elior felt a rush of relief, but he didn't relax. He knew this was only a beginning. Zyra's armor was more than metal. It was a test of understanding, respect, and patience. "Good," Zyra said finally, her voice calm. "You are beginning to comprehend, but comprehension alone is not enough. You must act in situations of challenge. Only then will true trust emerge." Before Elior could respond, an alarm echoed across the settlement. Red lights flashed along the forest floor, and a soft vibration passed through the ground. A meteor, small but fast, was approaching the city. The council members were already moving, preparing defensive measures, but the situation required immediate action. Zyra's eyes narrowed. "This is your chance," she said. "Show your understanding through action." Elior's heart pounded. He had prepared for theoretical repairs, but this was real. Lives could be at risk, and he would have to act fast. He followed Zyra to the edge of the city, where humans and aliens were coordinating emergency protocols. The meteor was heading directly toward a residential area, and traditional shields would not be enough to deflect it. Elior noticed a series of energy nodes around the city, designed for stabilization but never intended for such an emergency. He realized that if he could link them together and amplify the output, it might create a temporary shield strong enough to redirect the meteor. The plan was risky, untested, and required precise timing. "Elior," Zyra said, "you have little time. The nodes require exact synchronization. Any mistake and the shield may fail." He nodded, swallowing the fear that threatened to paralyze him. "I can do this," he said. "I have to." The two of them moved quickly, Zyra providing guidance as Elior worked with the alien technology. He connected the nodes, adjusted the energy frequencies, and synchronized them with the pulsing patterns of her armor. Each adjustment had to be precise, matching the flow of both human engineering and alien energy. Sweat dripped down his face, but he ignored it, focusing entirely on the task. Finally, everything was in place. Ilior activated the sequence. Energy surged through the nodes, creating a shimmering barrier between the city and the meteor. The object struck the shield and sparks flew, but the shield held. It deflected the meteor harmlessly into the forest beyond, where it landed with a distant explosion. Ilior exhaled, relief flooding him, but he didn't smile yet. He turned to Zyra, who was watching silently. Her armor glowed brightly, responding to the intensity of the moment. She stepped closer, her eyes reflecting both surprise and respect. "You acted with clarity and courage," she said. "You applied understanding, not just knowledge. That is rare among humans." Ilior felt a warmth in his chest. After all the fear, all the uncertainty, he had succeeded. But he also realized that this was only one test. The council would still judge him, still observe how humans could fit into a universe so different from their own. The settlement began to calm as humans and aliens worked together to repair minor damages and check for safety. Ilior stayed near Zyra, helping as he could, but mostly observing. He wanted to learn everything he could. Every gesture, every glance, every subtle movement of her armor taught him something about harmony, trust, and the intricate ways this alien civilization maintained balance. By the end of the day, the council convened once more. Zyra stepped forward, her expression unreadable. Ilior felt his stomach twist. This was the moment that would define him, not just as an engineer, but as a representative of humanity in their eyes. "Ilior has demonstrated ingenuity," Zyra said, her voice carrying through the chamber. "He has faced an emergency and applied his knowledge with courage. That is the beginning of understanding. But understanding alone does not ensure lasting trust. He must continue to prove that humans act with responsibility, patience, and respect." Ilior bowed slightly, his mind racing. "I will," he said. "I promise I will continue to learn and act with care." The council members nodded, a silent acknowledgement of his words. Zyra looked at him, her eyes softening slightly. "You are beginning to show the value of your kind. But beware, our world is complex and mistakes are costly. You must continue to prove that humans are capable of harmony, not only with technology, but with our culture." Ilior understood. This was only the beginning. His accident had almost caused a diplomatic disaster, but his actions during the meteor event had opened a door. Now, every step, every decision, every interaction would matter. He would have to think carefully, act wisely, and show the kind of humanity that could earn respect across the stars. That night, as he lay beneath the glowing canopy once again, Ilior reflected on everything that had happened. He had learned more about alien technology, culture, and expectations in one day than he had in years of training. He had faced real danger, acted under pressure, and realized the true meaning of responsibility. And he knew deep in his heart that the coming days would test him even more. Zyra's watchful eyes, the council's silent judgment, and the fragile trust between two species rested on his actions. But for the first time, Ilior felt something he had never felt before. A quiet confidence that humans were capable of rising to challenges greater than any machine or manual could teach. They had creativity, courage, and integrity, qualities that could shine even in the most alien of worlds. And as the twin moons rose high in the sky, reflecting off the bioluminescent forest, Ilior made a silent vow: he would not fail. He would continue to learn, to adapt, and to show that humanity could meet the galaxy with honor, intelligence, and heart. For now, he had survived his first real trial. Tomorrow would bring another. And he was ready to face it. The morning sun barely touched the glowing trees of Aurora IX when Ilior awoke with a sense of unease. The previous day had been intense, and although he had earned a small measure of trust from Zyra, he knew that the council's judgment was far from complete. Every word, every movement, every decision mattered. He had survived the meteor test, but that was only the beginning. Aurora IX was a world of subtle dangers, both physical and cultural, and he was still learning how to navigate them. Ilior dressed quickly and made his way to the central chamber, where Zyra awaited him. Her armor glimmered in the morning light, perfectly polished and radiating authority. She gave him a faint nod as he approached. "Today," she said, "you will face another challenge. one that tests not only your knowledge and skill, but your judgment, patience, and creativity. Are you ready? Ilior swallowed, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Yes, he said, I'll do my best. Zyra led him through the forest toward the training grounds of her people. The paths were lined with glowing plants that reacted to their movement, pulsing softly in colors that shifted like living lanterns. Ilior had walked these paths before, but today the energy in the forest felt different, more focused, almost anticipatory, as if it sensed the importance of the coming events. When they arrived, Ilior saw a series of strange devices scattered across a large clearing. They were metallic, almost crystalline, and connected by lines of faint energy. The purpose of the devices was not immediately clear, but Zyra's gaze made him feel the weight of expectation. You will interact with these devices, she explained. They are part of our energy network. It is designed to maintain balance in our environment. You must synchronize them correctly, or the flow will become unstable. If the flow is disrupted, it may not be dangerous immediately, but it will show a lack of understanding and care. Ilior nodded, studying the network carefully. The devices pulsed faintly, and he noticed patterns, small shifts in light that seemed to correspond to energy fluctuations. He understood that precision and observation were crucial. This was not simply a test of mechanics, but of attention and intuition. He moved toward the first device, carefully placing his hands on its surface. The energy hummed under his touch, responding to his intent. He focused, letting his thoughts remain calm and clear. Slowly, he adjusted the flow, watching the pulses synchronize with his movements. Each correction made the network more stable, but he knew that the real test would come when he interacted with the entire system at once. Zyra watched silently, occasionally giving a slight nod. Ilior felt both pressure and encouragement. He knew that she was testing him not only on the technical level, but also on his ability to remain calm, focused, and respectful. After several minutes, he moved to the next device, repeating the process. The network responded positively, but as he attempted to link all the devices together, a sudden disturbance occurred. A faint tremor ran through the clearing, and the energy lines flickered. Ilior's heart raced. He realized that one device was out of alignment, and if he didn't correct it quickly, the entire network could destabilize. He took a deep breath and studied the device closely. Its pulses were irregular, and he noticed a subtle pattern that suggested a minor obstruction in the energy conduit. Carefully, he adjusted the connections, using both his hands and the calibration tools he carried. The pulses began to stabilize, and slowly the entire network synchronized. Ilior exhaled, relieved, but he knew that Zyra's eyes were still assessing him. Good, she said finally. You have demonstrated skill and attention, but skill alone is not enough. You must also show creativity and adaptation. Our network is designed to respond to natural fluctuations, and now you must manage an unexpected variable. Ilior looked around, uncertain. An unexpected variable? He asked. Zyra nodded. Yes, observe. Suddenly, a section of the forest near the clearing began to glow brightly, and a group of alien creatures emerged. They were small, luminous beings, delicate in appearance but highly energetic. They moved quickly, darting toward the energy devices. If they touched the wrong parts, they could disrupt the flow. Ilior realized that the network he had stabilized was now under pressure from unpredictable elements, and he had to act fast. He thought quickly. The creatures seemed drawn to specific energy nodes, moving in patterns that were almost rhythmic. Ilior began to anticipate their movements, adjusting the flow slightly to guide them away from the sensitive areas. He created small, safe channels, allowing the creatures to interact with the network without causing harm. Zyra watched, her eyes reflecting the pulsing energy. Adaptation, she said quietly. That is the key. You are beginning to understand that control alone is not enough. You must work with the environment, not against it. Ilior's focus sharpened. He moved among the devices, carefully modulating the energy flow and observing the creature's behavior. Each adjustment required both precision and intuition. A single mistake could destabilize the network, but he remained calm, letting his mind respond naturally to the rhythms around him. After several tense minutes, the creatures finally settled, moving through the channels he had created. The network remained stable, and the clearing returned to its quiet glow. Ilior exhaled deeply, feeling a surge of accomplishment. He had not only repaired the network but had adapted to unforeseen challenges, proving that humans could combine knowledge, intuition, and creativity effectively. Zyra approached him, her armor reflecting the light of the network. "You have shown more than skill today," she said. "You have demonstrated understanding, patience, and adaptability. These qualities are rare and valuable. The Council will take note." Ilior felt a mix of relief and pride, but he also knew that his journey was far from over. The tests were designed not only to assess his abilities, but also to teach him about the culture, values, and expectations of Zyra's people. Each lesson brought him closer to understanding, but also reminded him of the delicate balance he had to maintain. The council members observed silently from the edges of the clearing. They did not speak, but their presence was felt, a constant reminder that every action was being evaluated. Ilior had learned to move carefully, to observe patterns, and to act with intent, but he knew that he would need to continue refining his understanding if humans were to earn lasting trust. As the day progressed, Ilior and Zyra continued working together, addressing minor fluctuations in the energy network and observing the natural rhythms of the forest. The creatures returned occasionally, testing his patience and adaptability, but he met each challenge with calm focus and careful observation. He began to feel a connection not only to the network and the creatures, but also to the world around him, sensing patterns and relationships that were subtle yet vital. By evening, the network was stable, the creatures were safe, and the council had witnessed his actions. Zyra turned to him, her expression softer than it had been the day before. "You are learning," she said, "not just about our technology, but about our world, our ways, and the importance of harmony. This is what earns trust." Ilior nodded, exhaustion and satisfaction mingling in his chest. He realized that the tests were not simply about proving technical skill, they were about proving character. Humanity had the tools to survive, build, and adapt, but it was the qualities of integrity, patience, and creativity that would define their place among other civilizations. That night, as he rested beneath the glowing canopy, Ilior reflected on the lessons of the day. He had faced challenges he could never have imagined, adapted to unforeseen circumstances, and demonstrated qualities that transcended mere skill. The council had observed, Zyra had guided, and he had succeeded in ways that were meaningful both technically and culturally. He knew that tomorrow would bring even greater challenges, and that the journey to earn lasting trust was far from complete. But for now, he allowed himself a quiet sense of accomplishment. He had begun to understand the delicate balance of technology, culture, and intention, and he had taken another step toward proving that humans could rise to challenges beyond their home world. And somewhere in the soft glow of the alien forest, Zyra watched him, sensing the growth of understanding and respect. She saw the determination in his actions, the care in his movements, and the willingness to learn. The crack in her armor, once a symbol of danger and mistake, had become a catalyst for discovery, adaptation, and connection. Ilior's journey was far from over, but he had proven that mistakes could lead to insight, challenges could lead to growth, and humans, though new and untested in the eyes of alien civilizations, were capable of rising to meet the expectations of worlds far beyond their own. As the twin moons rose in the sky, casting silver light across the glowing forest, Ilior drifted into a deep sleep, ready to face whatever tests awaited him next. Tomorrow, he would need to combine all that he had learned, skill, patience, intuition, creativity, and integrity, to continue proving that humanity was not only capable of surviving among the stars, but worthy of respect, trust, and partnership. For now, he rested, knowing that each small step, each careful action, and each moment of understanding was building a bridge between two civilizations, and that the story of humans on Aurora IX was only beginning. The next morning, Ilior woke with a mix of determination and anxiety. Today was different. The council had observed him through the previous tests, and Zyra's cautious approval hinted that his final challenge was approaching. Every lesson he had learned, the patience, the adaptability, the respect, and the courage, would now be put to the ultimate test. Ilior understood that the outcome of this trial would decide not only his personal place among Zyra's people, but also the future of humanity's relationship with an alien civilization. Zyra met him at the edge of the settlement. Her armor reflected the soft light of Aurora IX's twin suns, and her eyes glimmered with something Elior could not immediately read. Perhaps pride, perhaps caution, perhaps both. She did not speak immediately, but motioned for him to follow into the deeper forest, toward a part of the alien city he had never seen before. The trees grew taller here, their bioluminescence casting intricate patterns across the mossy ground. Elior noticed that the forest seemed almost alive, the gentle hum of energy resonating with the pulse of Zyra's armor. At last, they reached a large, open clearing, unlike the training areas Elior had encountered before. The ground was covered with crystal-like structures, each one connected by streams of flowing energy that pulsed like veins. At the center of the clearing stood a large obelisk, glowing faintly with the light of the planet's twin suns. Zyra turned to him, her expression serious. "This is the core of balance," she said. "It is the heart of our city's energy network. It regulates the flow between our environment, our technology, and the life around us. Any disruption here could have serious consequences. Today, you must interact with it and demonstrate that humanity can act with responsibility, understanding, and foresight. Are you prepared?" Elior took a deep breath. "Yes, I'm ready." Zyra nodded and stepped aside. Elior approached the obelisk, his steps careful and measured. The energy flowing through the crystals responded to his presence, pulsing in time with his heartbeat. He could feel the power in the air, a quiet hum that resonated deep within his chest. The core of balance was unlike anything he had encountered. It was alive in a sense, aware of the environment and sensitive to every action taken near it. He began by observing the patterns of energy. The pulses were rhythmic, almost musical, and he realized that each stream of energy had a purpose and a destination. Adjusting one crystal without considering the rest could cause an imbalance. He took a moment to steady himself, recalling everything Zyra had taught him about harmony, observation, and patience. Slowly, he placed his hands on the nearest crystal, feeling the vibrations travel through his body. He adjusted the flow slightly, and the energy responded, stabilizing in a harmonious pattern. Elior moved from one crystal to another, carefully modulating the currents, testing and observing as he went. Every adjustment required precision and thought, and he could feel the pressure of the council's observation in the back of his mind. Suddenly, the ground trembled slightly. A small quake ran through the clearing, sending faint ripples across the energy streams. Elior froze for a moment, analyzing the source. He realized that the tremor had caused a minor disruption in the energy flow. The core of balance was sensitive to even the smallest disturbances, and this was a test he had not anticipated. He focused, letting his thoughts remain calm and clear. He adjusted the crystals to compensate for the shift, carefully synchronizing the flow across the network. The energy responded, and harmony returned. Elior exhaled slowly, realizing that this was more than a test of skill. It was a test of adaptability, creativity, and emotional control. Zyra's voice broke the silence. "Good. You have managed the unexpected, but now you must demonstrate foresight. Consider not only the immediate effect of your actions, but also their impact on the network and the life it supports." Elior looked around the clearing. He noticed small bioluminescent creatures moving among the crystals, delicate beings that thrived on the energy streams. They were harmless but sensitive, and any miscalculation could disturb them or the flow of energy. Elior realized that this was the moment where his understanding of harmony and responsibility would truly be tested. He took a deep breath and began to anticipate the creatures' movements, adjusting the energy flow to create safe paths for them while maintaining the stability of the core. Every decision required both observation and prediction. A single mistake could cascade into disruption. Elior moved carefully, modulating the energy streams with precise timing, guiding the creatures gently through the clearing. Time seemed to stretch as he worked, his focus absolute. The core of balance responded to his touch, pulsing more steadily as harmony returned. The creatures moved safely through the channels he had created, interacting with the energy without causing harm. Elior felt a surge of quiet pride. He had not only stabilized the core, but had ensured that life around it could continue without disruption. Zyra stepped closer, her glowing eyes observing him. "You are showing understanding beyond technique," she said. "You are demonstrating patience, responsibility, and respect. These are qualities that cannot be taught, they must be embodied." You are beginning to show that humanity possesses them. Ilior's heart lifted. The words were not only praise but recognition of his growth. He realized that the accident with her armor, the meteor challenge, and the network tests had all been lessons, leading to this moment. Mistakes could be corrected, challenges could be overcome, and understanding could grow. Just as he was about to adjust the final crystal, a sudden burst of energy shot through the core. The network flickered, and Ilior's pulse quickened. A minor surge had occurred, likely caused by a natural fluctuation in the planet's energy. The clearing glowed brighter, the bioluminescent creatures darted nervously, and for a moment, Ilior feared he might fail at the final moment. He took a deep breath and focused entirely on the core. Drawing on everything he had learned, the harmony of the network, the patterns of the energy, the movements of the creatures, he adjusted the crystals with careful precision. Slowly, the energy stabilized. The surge dissipated and balance returned to the clearing. Ilior exhaled, relief washing over him in waves. Zyra approached, her armor glowing brighter in approval. "You have succeeded," she said. "You have demonstrated understanding, foresight, and adaptability. You have shown that humans are capable of more than we expected. Your actions today honor not only your intentions but the lives around you." Ilior felt a warmth in his chest, a sense of accomplishment and belonging. He realized that he had not only proven his own worth, but had also begun to build a bridge between two civilizations. The lessons of Aurora IX were clear. Intelligence and skill were important, but integrity, patience, creativity, and respect were what truly earned trust. The council members stepped forward, their expressions serious but approving. They examined Ilior with quiet scrutiny, and then one by one they nodded. The eldest council member, whose presence carried authority and weight, spoke. "Ilior has shown that humans can act with responsibility, foresight, and respect. This is the beginning of trust. We recognize his efforts and the lessons he has embodied. Humanity has earned the potential for partnership." Ilior bowed, his mind racing with gratitude and humility. He had faced the ultimate test, and through careful observation, thoughtful action, and integrity, he had succeeded. Zyra stood beside him, her expression softening. The glow of her armor reflected pride, and for the first time, Ilior felt that he had truly earned her respect. "Your species may have much to learn," she said quietly, "but today you have proven that humans are capable of honor, ingenuity, and understanding. These qualities will allow you to thrive among us not as intruders but as partners." Ilior felt a surge of emotion. The journey had been long, the challenges difficult, and the responsibility immense. But through each test, he had learned, grown, and adapted. He realized that the core of balance was not just a physical network. It was a symbol of harmony, cooperation, and understanding. By stabilizing it, he had shown that humans could respect, adapt, and contribute meaningfully to worlds beyond their own. As the twin moons rose over the glowing forest, Ilior and Zyra walked back toward the settlement. The forest seemed to hum in quiet approval, the bioluminescent creatures moving peacefully among the trees. Ilior knew that this day would be remembered, not just as a personal achievement, but as the moment when humanity began to earn a place among alien civilizations, proving that courage, creativity, and integrity were as valuable as technology or strength. When they reached the council chamber, Zyra turned to him. "You have done well, Ilior. Your actions speak for themselves. The council will continue to observe, but you have set a precedent. Mistakes can lead to growth. Challenges can lead to understanding. And humans can rise to meet expectations beyond their own world." Ilior nodded, feeling a sense of quiet pride. He thought of the accident with her armor, the fear and hesitation he had felt, and the lessons he had learned. Each step, each careful action, had brought him to this moment. He realized that sometimes mistakes were not failures, but opportunities to learn, grow, and demonstrate true character. That night, as he rested beneath the glowing canopy of Aurora IX, Ilior reflected on everything that had happened. He had faced challenges he could never have imagined, adapted to unforeseen circumstances, and demonstrated qualities that transcended skill. He had earned respect, trust, and a small measure of understanding from one of the most advanced civilizations he had ever encountered. He knew that the journey was far from over. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new responsibilities, and new opportunities to prove that humanity could rise to the challenges of the galaxy. But for now, he allowed himself a quiet sense of accomplishment. He had faced the ultimate test, and through courage, patience, creativity, and integrity, he had succeeded. And somewhere in the soft glow of the alien forest, Zyra watched him with quiet pride. The young human who had broken her armor, who had struggled, learned, and grown, had shown that humanity was capable of remarkable things. The crack in her armor, once a symbol of mistake and danger, had become the catalyst for connection, understanding, and the promise of partnership. Elior drifted into sleep, ready to face the future, knowing that each challenge, each test, and each act of understanding would shape not only his journey but the story of humanity among the stars. And for the first time, he truly believed that humans could meet the galaxy not with fear or hesitation, but with courage, ingenuity, and honor.